is 5 on 20 News, where the news is insane and the newscasters have lost their minds, with Ani Esquintela
and Alex Smythe.
Coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. First, the local headlines.
The Pima Sheriff's Department could be involved in another scandal, this time related to a possible violation of the Fourth Amendment. Eva Jackson has sued the Pima County Sheriff's Department for an incident in 2013 where deputies illegally handcuffed her and her husband. Unbeknownst to Jackson, deputies were responding to a 911 call from a man who said that he'd heard gunshots coming from inside the couple's home. Deputies entered her home, forced her family outside, and handcuffed them. Officers later found nothing unusual in the home, and the 911 caller later changed his story. They also entered the home of Jackson's neighbor, Rob Larson, forcing his family outside to be handcuffed. Larson sued the department and has been awarded $1.3 million. Jackson's case could be heard in 2017 when new Sheriff Mark Napier takes over. In November's election, Napier beat Sheriff Chris Nanos after Nanos' office became embroiled in another scandal the previous month involving improper funding for an on-site coffee shop. Stay tuned for next month's misstep. You might not have to wait that long.
It seems Trump's claim that he is very good at construction hasn't been enough to ease the minds of those concerned with his border wall plan. The chairman of Tohono O'odham Nation in southern Arizona has publicly stated that the tribe will not support a border wall being erected on their land. Vice Chair Verlin Jose has added that, quote, "Over my dead body will a wall be built." Jose invited the president-elect to visit the reservation for himself and see why a physical wall would not be a good idea for the tribe or the country. The Tohono O'odham Reservation covers 75 miles of the international border with land in both the U.S. and Mexico. Though Trump ran his campaign on a promise of building a wall, he recently stated in an interview that fencing would be acceptable in certain areas instead. It remains to be seen if this will be acceptable to the people of Tohono O'odham.
The Tucson economy is booming. Local war profiteers, Raytheon Missile Systems expect to add nearly 2,000 jobs and potentially billions of dollars to the economy over the next 5 years. Raytheon announced plans to expand their facilities on the south side of Tucson International Airport on Friday after securing tax breaks and incentives that could mean tens of millions of dollars for the company. Apparently, tens of billions of dollars in no-bid government contracts isn't enough to secure the future of this fledgling mom and pop. Sales of Raytheon death machines have been on the upswing as a result of continual warfare being waged by the U.S. and allied forces. In a conference call on Friday, Raytheon's Missile Systems President Taylor Lawrence said, quote, "The strong support we receive from state and local organizations is essential to our expansion plans and will help to provide Raytheon with the workforce and infrastructure to meet growing demand as we're seeing from our customers." Lawrence then began to cackle menacingly for several minutes while stroking an evil-looking cat. Raytheon is already the largest private employer in our area with more than 10,000 local workers. The company is planning to hire workers at all skill levels with an emphasis on engineering and other technical positions. Governor Doug Ducey, who was also in Friday's conference call, was quoted as saying, "This is great news and just more proof that Southern Arizona's economy is on fire." Meanwhile, thanks in part to Raytheon's products, the country of Yemen is literally on fire.
And here's some actual good news about the Tucson economy. KOLD reports that Tucson is becoming a hot spot for tech startups, mainly due to University of Arizona's Tech Launch program. The program helps connect university-related startups with businesses in Tucson. Their biggest success so far has been Sinfonia RX, a medication therapy management company that delivers patient care services mostly to Medicare recipients. Currently, Sinfonia employs 600 workers, with half in Tucson. Business leaders hope the program will produce more startups and prevent the brain drain caused by university graduates moving away for better employment opportunities. Contrast this with the whopping 50 workers we'll get from Monsanto, and we have to give them a tax break in exchange for mutant corn.
Here's a bit of news that might just warm our cold little hearts. An Oro Valley assisted living facility has launched a kitten-centric program. Catalina Springs Memory Care's new initiative pairs patients afflicted with memory loss with foster kittens that are in need of around-the-clock care. The pilot program, dubbed Bottle Babies, has been a resounding success. Some residents of the care facility have recovered long-lost memories of childhood pets while interacting with the kittens. And the furry little guys are getting snuggled, groomed, and fed twice per hour by their elderly caretakers. It solves a big need for the Pinal Animal Care Center, Catalina Springs' partner in the Cuddly Project, because kittens are often hard to place for the short period of time where their care is extremely labor-intensive. The program required some initial training of residents and staff, but now the kittens have incorporated it into the everyday flow of the facility.
I wanted to take a moment to talk about the program you're watching right now. Here at 5 on 20, we are undertaking a new kind of citizen journalism. We are going to give you the news as we see it, and we want more people to speak up with us. We need writers, hosts, anchors, camera people, sound people, the whole gamut. The times require a new way of informing ourselves. So join us. Do it. Do it now. Email us at info@creativetucson.org to get involved. And now in national and international news.
Police have reportedly fired freezing water cannons at the protesters at the Dakota Access Pipeline site in Standing Rock, North Dakota. Protesters suffered hypothermia, and witnesses described the sound of cracking of frozen clothes. According to witnesses and video uploaded from the scene, police fired the high-powered water hoses for nearly 4 hours. They started the hoses because protesters were trying to clear the road of 2 burned-out vehicles placed there by authorities to block the protesters. The blocked road is the route from Standing Rock to Bismarck, the largest nearby city. Local medical services have raised concern over the blockage, which restricts ambulance travel. Despite the Mad Max-sounding conditions, major media outlets such as CNN, The Drudge Report, and MSNBC did not provide coverage of the outlets. To their credit, other media outlets like ABC, Washington Post, and the New York Times featured coverage, although our awesome new president says that the Times are liars, so maybe we should question if the New York Times is even true. And did we mention that Fox News also covered the story? Good job, Fox News. You're a step above Breitbart. County Sheriff Kyle Kirchmer defended the department's use of force, actually claiming that his officers were, quote, delivering a mist toward the crowd in order to keep them safe. So I guess he was like those water trucks that travel around to music festivals and spray the kids on Molly so they don't die of dehydration. What a guy. Kirchmer also denied that the force possessed a water cannon, claiming that it was a hose instead. This is known as the Alabama Slammer defense in criminal justice circles, named in honor of the brave misters of the civil rights era.
Well, it looks like before he starts battling ISIS, Donald Trump may be cutting his teeth on a war against Hamilton the musical. Breitbart republished an old article about the Broadway hits casting call that say they discriminated against white people. The ad in question appeared in March on Hamilton's website and called for non-white actors to audition for roles in the musical. Hamilton's concept involves non-white actors playing historical American figures, so the ad was no different than a movie set in China asking for Asian actors or Michael Bay looking for big-breasted girls who are up for whatever. The ad has since been changed, and the play's producers made an apology 8 months ago. Now, Breitbart is trying to reignite the controversy. Is it a coincidence that 2 days ago Mike Pence received an improvised lecture from the Hamilton cast? Nah. As you might remember, Donald Trump tweeted twice about the incident, calling for the theater to be a safe space. And let's not forget that 3 days ago, Trump settled the Trump University case for $25 million because he needed to focus on the real issues. Apparently, the real issues are how the president-elect was treated while in the audience of a musical. Hamilton creator Lin-Manuel Miranda is reportedly following up his hit with a play about Donald Trump, appropriately titled Trump. Miranda placed an ad on his website casting for tiny-fingered oblong pumpkins.
Ad Rock of the Beastie Boys and Ben Stiller joined hundreds of New Yorkers on Sunday for a protest against hate speech. The protest occurred 2 days after a park dedicated to Beastie Boy Adam Yauch was vandalized with anti-Semitic graffiti. Instagram showed playground equipment covered with 2 swastikas and a pro-Trump message. The swastikas are likely aimed at Yauch, better known as MCA of the Beastie Boys, who was Jewish. The park was named for Yauch after he died of cancer in 2012. Actor Ben Stiller showed concern for the rash of hate crimes and hate speech incidents occurring since the election of Donald Trump. Stiller called on the president-elect to take a stand against this type of racial intimidation. Meanwhile, Trump polished off a fresh tweet about Hamilton where he renamed the play Hamilturd and silently smirked to himself.
America's favorite award show interrupting, $53 million indebted semi-god seems to have suffered a mental breakdown. According to sources, Kanye West has been hospitalized after a week of increasingly bizarre incidents, including the rapper's retroactive endorsement of Donald Trump and lashing out at everyone from Beyoncé to Mark Zuckerberg. His downward spiral into madness peaked late Saturday night during a show in Sacramento. West performed only 2 songs, went on a 15-minute-long rant, told the audience that the rest of the tour was canceled, and walked off the stage. Kanye is widely known for blurring the lines between performance art and mental instability, and it seems like the scales have finally tipped. People magazine has quoted a source as saying, "Kanye is exhausted and currently dealing with sleep deprivation. He went to a hospital at will under the advice of his physician."
Oh, Kanye. Sounds like a good show. In other news of the mentally unstable, Donald Trump met with the New York Times today after a much insane back and forth online. Trump called off the meeting in a huff earlier today, but then had a change of heart. Our president-elect said that he had canceled the meeting with the Times due to them changing the terms and conditions of the meeting at the last moment. Trump stated for the umpteenth time that the New York Times were failing and even called them not nice. Seriously. A 70-year-old man who is going to lead our nation just called a media entity not nice. Trump has been very outspoken about his belief that the Times has treated him unfairly. Times spokeswoman Eileen Murphy denied changing any conditions of the meeting. She said Trump's team had to ask to change the ground rules on Monday, making on-the-record statements from Donald out of bounds. The paper declined. Murphy said that the Times heard about the meeting. Murphy said the Times heard the meeting was canceled via Trump's tweets. Anyway, after much back and forth, the meeting was put back on the books. During that meeting, Trump did some more flip-flopping on the issues, including backing off promises that he would investigate former presidential opponent Hillary Clinton, and he condemned those Nazi-saluting fools that made news over the weekend. So what does the president-elect have to say about the Times now? He admitted to reading the paper and said, quote, "I have great respect for the New York Times. I have tremendous respect. I just think they've been very rough."
Germany doesn't like the Trumps today, and it doesn't look like they liked them in 1905 either. A historian from German University has shown how history has repeated itself. Roland Paul discovered documents stating that Donald Trump's grandfather, Frederick Trump, was barred from Germany after skipping out on military service. He's like the Donald and George W. rolled into one. Frederick emigrated to the U.S. in 1885, but sought to return in 1905 when he was delivered a letter informing him that he had to leave within 8 weeks. Frederick came to the U.S. from Germany at age 16 to escape a life of poverty, chasing the gold rush and ending up in Alaska, where it said he ran a brothel named Estriglia. That means big league in German. Over time, he sent gold nuggets home to his sisters, who had already started a real estate empire in New York. Upon returning to Germany, Frederick sent a letter to the German prince, Regent Luitpold. In the letter, he called the prince, quote, "the much-loved, noble, wise, and righteous sovereign and sublime ruler," showing the Trumps' early love for overuse of adjectives. Just imagine if the prince had accepted Frederick, we would have never heard of Donald Trump. It's like a fairy tale in reverse. This was Anias Quintella.
And Alex Smythe.
For 5 on 20 News. Next up, Madison Brodsky talks to online entrepreneur and U of A graduate Vip Sitaraman, who created the visual news site Explica.
Hey guys, welcome to 20s and Trending. I'm Madison Brodsky, and today we have an amazing online genius as a guest. He graduated from the University of Arizona 2 years early and created a website that targets the millennials called Explica. The website publishes infographics and animations about controversial topics, ranging anywhere from sports and entertainment to politics. The site has had so much success, he is named in Arizona Republic's top 35 entrepreneurs under the age of 35. With me now is the founder of the website, Vip. So first of all, congratulations on all of your success and your graduation.
Thank you. Thank you.
How does it feel to be graduated?
Freedom. That's what it feels like, freedom.
Why is that?
I mean, I get to longboard to work every day, down a bridge in Austin into downtown. That's a pretty awesome vibe.
What's the difference between Tucson and
I feel like Tucson is the hipster town and Austin is the hipster city, so it's just scale, but really very similar culture.
Okay. So you're only 19 years old, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So did you skip a grade or two? Did you like get college credit when you were in high school through AP classes? How'd that
So
work?
I started college when I was 16, so I'd skipped a couple grades coming in, but I also had taken a pretty decent number of APs. So the combination of that and like a decent course load during college, and I really just accidentally graduated early, but it happened.
How did that happen? Tell me that story.
My friend came up to me one day my freshman year and was like, "Hey, do you know you can graduate like next year?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he pulls up this spreadsheet, like this whole thing. I have no idea how he made it that fast, but he has this whole spreadsheet and shows it to me, and I didn't believe him, but in the end, really, I could graduate the next year, and I did.
That's so crazy. How did he just know all of your classes and know your expectations?
I have no idea. Some
it?
people I know are just crazy. They're very smart. Like,
Okay. Well, speaking of smart, your original dream was science related, right?
right.
Okay. So what did you want to do in science?
I really wanted to start this sort of facility that both had MDs and PhDs like working together, so personalized medicine and stuff like that. So that was a vision in the beginning, but I think that was even giving away that I was going to pretty soon transition into business and entrepreneurship.
What else were you involved in while you were in college?
I started a couple different websites and mobile apps. I did a lot of consulting. Did a lot of design consulting for big companies. And the whole time I was building up this company, really, back then it was called Draw Science.
Okay, so what was the mission and the insight of this website when it was called Draw Science?
So at the beginning, it was just a blog I made. I was like a science fair nut when I was a kid, and it was at one of these science fairs, there was a judge, his name's Winston Vuong, I'm still friends with this guy. And he told me, he was like, you should look at science blogging and outreach, and I thought he was crazy. But then I started this website about 2 weeks later and just started putting up infographics about science news. And it was soon after that things started taking off. I was starting to fly everywhere, go to conferences. We turned into a company, and then now that company is now Explica.
So what was your major? Because you seemed very interested in science, and then you created this website.
Right. So my major was biology. I majored in molecular and cellular biology. And that's what I did a lot through high school, too, as well. And it was part of this pre-med thing. I definitely think at some point maybe I'll go back into biology, but not anywhere in the next, 10 years.
Why is that?
I want to keep working on Explica. I want to grow it into a much larger brand. I think it can be as big as some of the names that people recognize today.
Right. So since you are so interested in biology and you created this website, how did you transform into almost a journalist by creating something like this?
I think it was interesting because right as I started delving into entrepreneurship, I started messing around more in the content media marketing space. I was a design consultant. I worked for companies like Facebook and Tilt sometimes. And while I was doing that, on the flip side, I was learning the marketing side as I was a contributor at Huffington Post. Draw Science became an affiliate with Business Insider. And so I kind of just got shoved into these industries, really.
Opportunities and the door
opportunities opened, and I just had to learn quickly.
What was your experience with Facebook?
I think all very large companies are amazing in how they've managed to preserve innovation and keep things changing all the time.
What was the best lesson that you learned?
I think in the long run, the best lesson I've learned is that any challenge is possible to solve. And I think that is the mindset that we take with anything we're trying to do with Explica, is that we can solve this. We just haven't thought about it the right way yet.
So Explica is targeting the millennials, but everyone wants to target the millennials. So why did you also agree to target the millennials?
So for us, really, again, since everything's about testing, since it's based on a bunch of engineers and scientists like myself, the team really is a bunch of engineers and scientists. We just test a lot of stuff. And so Explica was something we were testing while we were in this Seed Sumo accelerator right after college. And Explica was just one idea we were testing, and it started pulling in this disproportionate number of millennials. So for instance, Mike was #1 in 2014 for around 50% of their audience was millennials. 82% of our audience is 18 to 34 years old, falls in that Generation Y bandwidth. So it's pretty interesting that we just ended up pulling these people in, but it was more like reaction to market than an idea ourselves.
Okay, so would you ever look into having journalists come in and work with you as well, not just engineers, to write these stories or do broadcast online? Because online broadcast is moving to the web.
Definitely. No, I think that one of the more interesting parts that's happening now is we're starting to work with a lot of different players in industry. So we delve into the content marketing space a little. We worked with Soylent and American Scientist, just putting out really good content. We've started talking to ABC, and we also started talking to Verizon in terms of this media space, where we can collaborate with both people on the side of content delivery and people on the side of content creation. So there's a lot of collaboration that can go on in industry, and it's just starting to show up because we just announced that fundraising round like 2 weeks ago, I think.
So you talk a lot about the infographics, and that I'm assuming has to do a lot with how the majority of your staff is engineers, correct?
Right.
So what exactly are you guys doing?
So what we're doing is building really two things. One, a visual news site, and two, an automatic news site. So the first part that we're building is just creating these very interesting graphics. We don't even really think that they fit the description of infographics anymore, but there's these interesting storytelling mechanisms that are animated, scrollable, and mobile responsive. So totally built for the web, an entirely new medium. And so we're creating that, but on the flip side, we're trying to build sort of narrow AI, some sort of artificial intelligence in an extent that can automatically take trending news stories and things like that and transform them into this new medium.
So are you taking stories from other websites, or are you creating them yourselves?
In a sense, we are a news aggregator, because what we do is we pull a lot of data in on trending news stories and then write our own.
So the site has only been up for 4 months, right? And it already has 6.5 million readers and 16,000 Facebook fans. How did you market it to gain that kind of traffic?
I think, again, one of the funnest parts of being in a startup is that we have to learn new things very, very fast. So I'm coming straight out of college, and one of the first things I learned at the Seed Sumo Accelerator was cost per click marketing. And we became really good at targeted ads and targeted marketing. And because of that, we were able to rapidly grow our audience with a very, very low spend.
Do you think Facebook is the most important social media right now?
I think it's rapidly shifting away. Facebook, because of their lack of Gen Zers on board, they do have them on Instagram, and same with Twitter. They don't really have very many Gen Zers on board, but they have them with Periscope. It's interesting how new social media is showing up, and if you really look at it, Explic is part of this wave of more visual content. You have live stream video with Periscope. You have Snapchat Discover channels, which are this entirely new format of presenting the news, and now you have Explic. It's part of this new wave of media.
Right, and you're going more into Snapchat. I saw that on your website you talk a lot about Snapchat and how I think it says 36 million millennials get their news from Snapchat.
Right.
Where'd you come up with that kind of research?
I think that statistic is from a study in one of the like famous tech magazines. We usually cite them in the decks that we put out. But we had to do a lot of market research when we were setting up this idea, because at our core, we're just experimenting to understand consumers and build amazing products for them.
Right. So what's next for you guys?
I think the next thing for us really is to finish building out this narrow AI and do a lot of development, but B, we need to build into this household brand that we have the ability to. We're growing at 4 times the pace that BuzzFeed was. We've got all this traction underneath our belt, those statistics on the users. We have a disproportionate number of millennials, so we're putting out the kind of content that they want. There's a lot of things leading up for us to do really well in the next couple quarters for sure.
Yeah, I can completely see that. You guys developed this website that kind of brings in all the social media sites in a way, but in an informative way to keep millennials informed about everything. So are you guys looking at anything specific to keep expanding?
I think we are trying to see other ways in which we can collaborate, like you were saying earlier, with other industries, because we have this sort of core discovery that our visual content works, and more broadly, any visual content works. And all we want to do is figure out different ways we can use that to help consumers and businesses do better.
What kind of industries do you want to break into?
One of the things we've spent a lot of time on actually is helping out companies with presenting their ideas to employees, to investors, to potential other corporations and clients. And even in the last 6 months, we've closed around $5 million in deals, investments, contracts, just off of pitch decks we've made. And so there's this entire other place we can go into helping people present their ideas. more on the content marketing side.
That's amazing. You are literally the example that I think everyone could take a lesson for about learning something, taking it, and creating something of your own, creating an opportunity for yourself.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and speaking with us in the studio.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Of course. This was Vip, and my name is Madison Brodsky, your host of 20s on Trending on 5 on 20, and I cannot wait to have you guys back here next Tuesday to gossip some more. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Madison. And this has been 5 on 20 News with Ani Esquintela.
And Alex Smythe.
We'll see you here tomorrow. Thanks for watching and have a good Tuesday.